What's up, spectators? Welcome back to the episode of Chaos Child. Last time we had met up with Sekira at a manga cafe, and we're about to review the footage recovered from that day in the Love Hotel. So that's where we left off last time, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be a pretty interesting episode. Finally getting back into things. Oh, Serika said.
違うと思う。あの時タクが気を失ってすぐに警察が駆けつけて、で私も気持ち悪くて吐いちゃってたんだけど、いつの間にかタクが落としたスマホを自分のポケットに入れてて、それで警察に連れてかれるパトカーの中でスマホのことに気づいて、そこで私が録画ボタンを止めたから。
So that was it. Come to think of it, I hadn't asked how it had happened.
よく警察に消される前にストレージにあげる暇があったな。
Serika nodded as if she felt the same way.
たまたまだよ。警察に着いた時にまた気持ち悪くなっちゃってトイレに駆け込んで、そこであって思いついたの。
This doesn't seem likely. Phones, when they record video, I'm pretty sure a 22-minute video would end up being hundreds of gigabytes. There's no data plan that good, but whatever. In this universe, sure. Some crappy alright, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm poking holes in this, I just need to settle down. I'll calm myself down. I'm really amazed. I really was. I'd passed out in the hotel, and the next thing I knew, I was at the station. Supposedly, I'd walked from the patrol car to my room, but my memory was vague and hazy. I took a big sip from the cup to choke down the urge to vomit and slowly let it sink into my stomach. If the recording was successful, then I should see what I'd seen then. It had happened 2 days ago, but it had left such a strong impression on me that it didn't feel like that much time had passed at all. I took a deep breath and told myself it was time to do this. I looked over at Serika. Okay.
Tammy, are you saying hello? You missed me? Oh, you silly kitty. Meow meow.
Okay. I tried to steady my slightly shaking finger as I clicked the file. The first thing I noticed was that sound. The peaceful sound of the music box that filled the room from that spinning bed. A dark, gloomy room, a curtain in the back, and a rotating bed behind. It was that room. The same emotions as I'd experienced before came flooding back to me through the blurry screen. I could sense my own hesitation from my gasping breaths. Serika grabbed my shoulder at the sudden sound.
大丈夫。確か僕が床を踏み鳴らしたんだ。
そっか。
The camera was slowly moving towards the back of the room. At some point, my breathing matched the breathing in the recording. It scared me, so I pulled away a little and took a deep breath to isolate myself from the person in the video. I heard that sound. The sound of the wire creaking as the bed spun. I could feel the panic coming through the screen. I wasn't sure what to do.
進むぞ。
I could tell that Serika was gulping a little. As I spoke, the camera kept going forward. I could hear Serika's soft gasp in the video. The police officer and that woman were lying on the floor. I hadn't realized it at the time, but the glass was scattered all around. The camera quickly panned without warning. It was that bed. The silhouette behind the curtain was probably that man. The angle was off and wasn't pointing directly at the bed. At that point, I hadn't really been aware of the smartphone. I heard a dull thud and the screen went black.
落としたのかな。
多分。
It felt like I'd tripped and fallen backwards. The phone had probably fallen from my hands. Was it black because the camera had fallen face down? Serica's voice sounded like it was a little far away. It was still picking up sound, evidently. I could hear myself trying to open the door and swearing when I failed. That's right, I'd been fighting with the door then. And then... my body shivered as if it had gone numb. I could hear it.
聞こえたよな。
I could hear it. The police said the surveillance cameras hadn't shown anyone else coming into the room, but I could hear it. That constant, rhythmic knocking. Somehow it made me feel uneasy and scared. Someone had been on the other side of that door. And suddenly the screen moved. It was showing the man on the bed. The screen was blurry, but the man was almost exactly in the center of the viewfinder. Had I picked up the smartphone? I couldn't remember. In the video, I ignored Serica's voice and kept pointing the camera at the man. I could hear my own rough breathing, and I remembered how I'd felt then. Then suddenly I heard a snap. That is one juicy sound. The screen moved violently for a second, and then for a moment it showed the girl. Then the angle changed again, and it stopped moving. The screen was covered in red blood, but...
天井か。
what I was looking at was probably the room ceiling. Since it didn't move at all, this was probably where I'd passed out and dropped it. Just like before, the camera was still recording the sound. I could hear Serica vomiting, and what sounded like someone falling over. It caught the police officers running into the room. They were asking Serica what was going on. She was probably the only one there who was still conscious. Shortly after, the screen went black. Serica had probably put the phone into her pocket, just like she said. I could hear an irritating noise that must have been the sound of the phone scraping the skirt's fabric. The screen stayed black, but it kept picking up the nearby sound. Then at the very end, there was a quick shot of the inside of a patrol car. I realized that at some point I'd lean my body toward the screen. I sat back in my chair. I'd known what was going to happen, but this was still hard. To be honest, I was lucky that the phone was dropped, and a lot of it wasn't clearly recorded. I didn't feel as much of an urge to vomit as I'd expected, but I was still sweating from a nasty, unpleasant feeling. Well, maybe that's that weird tea stuff you're drinking working. I gulped down the last bit of liquid in my cup.
尾上、大丈夫か?
I asked Serica, and then...
ねえ、タク、最後のとこ、何か変なの映ってなかった？
何?
Weird. The whole thing was weird. Not a second of it was normal.
部屋の奥に進んでからさ。
Serica moved the mouth to jump backwards in the video. I couldn't tell whether she was tough or simply dense, or maybe it just felt like it was nothing but a video. But she advanced through the shocking scenes with no hesitation.
ほら、ここ、これ、窓の外。
あ?
I could see the wall of the Love Hotel across the street from the open window. There was something there.
なんだこれ?
虫かな？
I don't see anything.
こんなでかい虫がいたら、クルスが建物ごと爆破しに来るぞ。
She hated bugs.
じゃあ、いたずら書き？
Why was her first answer a bug and her second answer the sensible one?
いや、ちょっと待って。なんかどっかで。
I switched from my player software to my editing software and then blew up that part of the screen. I could make it out, but it was so far away that it was blurry. The resolution was too low.
ほら、虫じゃん。羽広げてる。
違うって。やっぱりなんかどっかで見た気が。
Oh, I can see what they're trying to see now. Yeah, it's the sumo guy with the multiple faces. What? I turned around at the loud noise.
よはただいま帰った。待たせて悪かったな。
There was a drunk man with a bottle of booze in his hand. Give me a break. Of course no one was waiting.
もっと静かに入ってきてよ。
おう、ゲンさん。この前はありがとね。
この前。
ラブホテルの事件のこと教えてくれたじゃん。
おお、そうだったか。まあどうでもいい。事件かよかったな。タクは新聞記者になりたいんだからな。
I didn't, really. Every day I supposedly wanted to be a different thing. Last time it was a movie director.
よはただいま帰ったぞ。なあタク、よく聞け。世が世であるために今日はこんなものを手に入れてきた。どこだ？
He started patting down the pockets of his very old coat. This annoying old man was Gen. He was the elder ruler of this park and the CEO of a company with a 3 billion yen a year salary, and the best friend of my father, Jiro. At least, according to him, my dad's name wasn't even Jiro. He was related to a clan of foreign nobles, and so if he ever needed to, he could summon a foreign special forces team to do his bidding. Except last week, his bed had been taken over by a stray dog, and he'd had to come stay with me.
ねえぞ。世の一番大事なものもねえじゃねえか。やべえぞ。証明できねえ。
ちょっとゲンさん、ズボン脱がないでよ。
Gen was always loud when he got drunk, and when he got really drunk, he was louder. Today, he wasn't very drunk. I had no idea what he was like when he was sober. I'd never seen it happen, or heard of it happening. Sometimes, or often actually, at least once a week, he would come by my room drunk, talk for a while, and then leave to search the park for more alcohol.
あったぞジョーちゃん。あった。ほれ見ろ。
見ない。絶対見ない。
He was obnoxious as hell, to put it mildly, but I couldn't chase him away. Actually, I couldn't complain about him much at all. When I'd left the dorm half a year ago, I'd ended up at the bottom half of Miyashita Park. Since the upper half kept the rain off, the bottom half was the one with the most popular spots. A lot of the reason I was able to get this spot, and even get this motorhome, was because of Gen.
最低。最低。
When I'd lived in the dorm, I'd done some cooking for the homeless in Miyashita Park as part of our volunteer activities. Gen had remembered that. I don't understand. Did he lose his penis and then he found it? He was looking in his pockets? A nobleman does not forget his debts, was all he said, and then somehow, I'd been given this place. He was also the one who taught me how to get by in this place.
あ、そうだタク、これ見ろ。変わんねえか。
Gen took something out of his pocket.
Okay.
I ripped the copy of my favorite magazine out of his hands. I quickly glanced over to Serica.
大嫌い。ゲンさん。大嫌い。
She was mumbling that over and over to herself. I thought she liked him. Good, she didn't see. I breathed a sigh of relief and hid it someplace nearby.
いくら？
Gen raised a single finger. This was one rule, for example. It was the first thing I'd learned at the park. The homeless would never ever ask you for money. It was the one thing they could never say. Money was either found lying on the ground or earned by working or selling things. It wasn't something other people gave you. I took out a 100 yen coin from my wallet and gave it to him. Gen grabbed it and put it in his pocket like he didn't really care.
おお、最近よく見んな、それ。
He was looking at the PC monitor as he spoke. For a moment, I didn't know what he meant. My eyes met Serika's for just a moment. The monitor was still displaying that blurry, blown-up image. He saw it a lot?
ちょっとケンさん。
これ知ってるの？
野球してえな。
He was in his own little world. What was this guy's problem? I got closer to him.
ケンさん、これ見たことあるの？
ああ、なもんお前どこにでもあんだろうよ。これ例えば駅前の駅前って誰だ？
は？駅前って駅前なんでしょ？渋谷の駅前の。
だからこれつうかタク、おめえ前に見せてくれたやつにも映ってんだろ。俺何年前だったか、おめえがカラオケに張り込んでなんかを初めて抑えたとかっつってよ。
That was last weekend, actually. When I'd been uploading the photos of the crime scene I took from the karaoke box, Get had come by and seen them. I mean, clearly this guy is someone very important, and from his past is riddled with guilt, and that is why he is a drunk. So he can try to forget his past. That's totally what it's gonna be. He's somehow involved, very important, horrible things happened, whatever else. This was it. It was an image of the karaoke box I'd hid it in to take pictures of the crime scene. It was on the 5th floor. I could see the same mark. I switched from the player software to the editor software just like before and magnified that part of the image. And then I realized what it was. That's right. I had seen this thing before. And just like Gen said, it was something you could find all over Shibuya. Something that had been there for a long time.
これ歴史シールド。
As I saw the club room for the first time in 3 days, I was stunned.
いや、努力はしたんだよ。
I'd been waiting all morning to tell Ito the big discovery I'd made yesterday. I'd stayed up almost all night finding all the information I could on it, and then forced myself to wait until school ended to tell him. I figured that was just sending pictures to his phone or trying to explain it in words would just confuse him. I wanted to stand in front of a board in the club room, with all the information we learned so far pinned up on it, and use the club time to really work through it. But there was nothing there at all. I could only think of one person who would do that.
クルスか。
昨日の帰り際な。危なすぎるから絶対にダメだって言って。
Was it because of what happened in the Love Hotel? In as angry a voice as I could muster, I said,
どうして止めてくれなかったんだよ。
だから努力はしたんだよ。黙りなさいって言われて黙ったけど。
そこをなんとかしてさ。
無理言うなよ。お前ならなんとかできたのか？
無理言うなよ。
Ito shrugged as if to say, see? Just imagining it scared me a little. Doing something about Kurusu was absolutely impossible. No one in Hekiho was capable of such a thing. I pointed to the PC on the desk.
データは？
ハードディスクごと叩き壊されなかっただけ運が良かったんじゃないか？
So, the data was gone too. Ito was probably joking, but if Kurusu thought she needed to do it, she would have.
尾上、さっきから何プリントアウトして。
はい、これ。
Sarika dropped a stack of papers on the desk. I looked down and saw that it was images and articles about the case. It was the ones that were uploaded to the newspaper club server.
どうしたんだこれ。
状況たるもの、データのバックアップは常に取れってタクいつも言ってるじゃん。というか、タクだって取ってるでしょ？
Well, yes, but... Sarika flipped through the papers.
ポケコンからだとなぜか画質が少し落ちるんだよね。サーバーにもう一回上げ直して。
ちょっと待った。
Sarika went to stretch a cable from her Pokecom to the PC, but I quickly stopped her.
画質これでいいの？
そうじゃなくて、いや画質はこれでいいんだけど、サーバーに上げるのはちょっと待ってくれ。
I glanced at Ito as I spoke. The newspaper club server could be accessed from any PC in the club school as long as you knew the password. Kurusu was spending her time at the student council getting ready for the culture festival, but there was a chance she might look at the server for some reason. Ito nodded in agreement, a serious look on his face.
二人とものんちゃんのことを怖がりすぎだよ。のんちゃん優しいよ。ねえ、花ちゃん。ほらね。
See what? Was Kazuki agreeing? She was pounding down on the keyboard and mouse really hard.
そりゃ尾上や和樹は副部長に可愛がられてるけどさ。
渋谷のクレープ屋台一緒にコンプリートしたんだよ。のんちゃん甘いものに詳しいんだ。
Sarika puffed out her chest, very proud of this information. I didn't care in the slightest.
それにどっちみちのんちゃんにはバレると思うよ。
That was probably true, yeah. If we kept following the case as part of our work with the newspaper club, Kurusu was smart enough to catch on.
大丈夫だよ。話せば分かってくれるよ。
I simulated a variety of situations in my mind. Kurusu loves sweets. This was something that Sarika had said, and that I'd known about too. So, would buying her something she liked from a famous sweet shop be enough to win her over? Would bribery work on someone as prim and proper as the student council president? It was worth a try. Unless we could win her over, we weren't going to be able to continue with the case.
よし、これから賄賂を買いに行こう。尾上、クルスが好きなスイーツ店の上位3つを教えてくれ。
オッケー。買いに行くなら私も行きたい。
Even in his fantasy, his voice is entirely different. She was clearly intending to buy something for herself. Well, that was fine. It was time for the mission to begin.
というわけで、これ、クルスにプレゼント。
I knew that Kurusu was staying late after school to get ready for the festival. I handed her the present I'd just bought. Sarika had told me about a pancake place near Shibuya Station. It was a popular store where there was always a line of girls outside. I heard it was one of the few places where you could get pancakes for takeout, so I quickly chose it. Standing in line with the girls for an hour was almost torture, but I somehow managed to do it.
これって
Oh, I sneeze. Wait.
X サンクスのパンケーキ？
Excuse me. Eggs and thanks? What a ridiculous name.
そうだけど。
あそこいつも並んでいるからなかなか手に入らないのに。
Her eyes were shining like a little girl's. It wasn't an expression I was used to seeing from her.
私にくれるの？本当に？
いつも迷惑かけてるし。
タクルがこういうプレゼントをくれるなんて珍しいね。ありがとう。すごく嬉しい。
After seeing how happy she was, I couldn't tell her that I was trying to bribe her.
あれおかしいな。
え、なんで？
Why was she crying?
ごめんね。こんな幸せあるんだなって思って。変だよね。こんなことで泣いちゃうなんて。でも本当に嬉しかったの。ありがとうね、タクル。よかったら半分こしない？いいでしょ？
I was satisfied with the results of my simulation. This might work.
よし、わかった。
いいのか？
Ito must have been really surprised by my answer, because he badly overreacted. Ugh.
お前はそんなに勇敢なやつだったか？
やるときはやるんだよ。ただ、サーバーに上げるのは待ってくれ。慎重を期したい。
オッケー。
それから、とりあえず今はボードに情報を貼り付けるけれど、まとめ終わったら一旦剥がそう。ことは簡単じゃないんだ。
オッケー。
それから事件のことに関してはとりあえずクルスに秘密にしよう。それでほとぼりが冷めるまで様子を見つつ、クルスが甘いものでも食べて機嫌がいい時に切り出すんだ。
オッケー。
Okay.
じゃねえだろ。ただのヘタレじゃねえか。
What?
ヘタレじゃない。もっとも成功率の高い方法を弾き出したらこうなるんだ。それをヘタレと呼ぶのはヘタレの定義として。
はいはい、わかったわかった。ほら、尾上、地図貼るからそっち持て。
オッケー。
Ito and Serica took out the big map we used for the board.
説得を考えたらこれが一番確実なんだ。
He didn't get it at all. There was no way I could persuade Kurusu if I tried to go after her head on.
というか、宮代、マジな話だけどさ。
He had a very serious tone in his voice as he hung up the top of the map. I'd been serious the whole time.
その、大丈夫なのか、事件を追って。
だからいずれ説得する。ヘタレじゃないぞ。慎重なんだぞ。
じゃなくて、お前よっぽどのもん見たんだろ。そのラブホテルで。
Serica froze midway through the process of taping down the bottom of the map. So that was it? I hadn't told Ito anything about the Love Hotel. I hadn't told him about what I'd seen or experienced there. I tried my best to give him a cheerful smile.
大丈夫だよ。問題ない。こんな大きなネタほっとけないだろ。
Ito didn't answer. He stared at me as if trying to figure me out. And then he relaxed and laughed a little.
まあ、電話の時点でそうじゃないかとは思ってたけどな。
He was probably talking about the call I'd made yesterday. After I'd made my discovery, I called Ito and asked him to find all the information he could about the Love Hotel case. It had already been 3 days since it had happened. I hadn't been really following it at all, so I asked Ito to put together what he could find.
はい、いいよ。
Serica finished pinning the map to the board. Okay, let's get started. It was a brand new map of Shibuya. We'd had to put it up for some scratching. We'd had to put it up from scratch again, but now that I looked at it, maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. I'd made a huge discovery which could impact the whole case. It was a good idea to start over from the beginning.
まず6年前の事件と日付の関連性があるという前提で進めよう。つまり今まで起きた3つの事件を一連のこととして考える。目的や犯人がいるとしたら、その正体はともかくとしてな。
ああ、3つ続いた以上はそうだろう。そうじゃなかったらまたその時考えればいい。
よし、場所から行くか。1件目の事件、通称こっちみんなは人難で起こったから。で、その遺体の画像が
So for Don't Look at Me, yeah, it's the live streamer.
で、その概要がちなみに同じ日付の6年前の事件は集団ダイブだから。
The group dive. Hmm.
で、その概要が
I wonder if they... Hold on a second. Let me see what else is in the tips list. Do they have previous cases in here? I don't think so. Huh. Okay.
1件目はこんなもんだな。じゃあ2件目に行こう。通称音漏れ炭は深センで起こったから。で、その遺体の画像が
Alright, leaky noise is the woman who put the tape recording inside her stomach.
で、その概要がちなみに同じ日付の6年前の事件は妊娠男だから。
Yep, I definitely remember that one.
で、その概要がよし、じゃあ最後にラブホの事件だ。場所は道玄坂のラブホ街だから。で、概要だけど
I looked at Ito and I could see he was nervous. He was worried, but at the same time a little excited.
どうした？大丈夫か？
いや、そうだな。まずは伊藤がまとめてきたのを見せてくれるか。世間ではどういう認識になっているのかを知りたい。発表されていた名前は見たけど。
わかった。ちょっと待ってな。
Ito got out his Pokécom and started to fiddle with it. He linked the printer over the network and printed out his files. Wait.
やっぱサーバーにはあげないんじゃんか。
当たり前だ。殴られるのは嫌だ。
だから怖がりすぎだってば。
I skimmed the printout that Ito made for me. After all the cases we'd researched together, he knew how to summarize information into a single page like a pro. Ito read from his own printout.
名前が発表されたのは昨日の夜だ。死んだのは柿田博則22歳。渋谷在住で更新でアルバイトしていたらしい。
更新？
なんで知らないんだ？景気のいいベンチャー企業だよ。
They had been making a lot of money lately off of the Shibuya reconstruction.
渋谷ニューズの情報通り20代の男性だ。
さすが。そこはチェックしてるか。
That was about the only thing I could do, Ito said as he nodded.
つうか20代って言及したのは事件のあった日のネトラジ放送だぞ。まだその段階ではどの媒体も男性の変死体が発見されたとしか発表してなかったのに。ったくどうやって調べてるんだか。
I couldn't agree more. How did Kay do her research?
死因は首吊りによる窒息死。地上のもつれからの自殺と断定された。
え？
A suicide? Over a fight with a lover?
自殺と断定されたのか？
ああ、警察はそう発表した。あと出ている情報といえば、まあ死んだ柿田が優秀だったってことくらいか。出来高のアルバイトで驚くほど稼いでいたらしい。
地上のもつれって、その相手は？いや、地上って言うなら交際していた相手がいたはずだろ。
ああ、なるほどな。
Ito looked through a bunch of files on his Pokecom.
いや、それに関しては何もないな。
目撃者は？
発見したのはホテルの従業員だけど、それ以外には何も。もちろんお前らのことも出てない。
What was going on? So they hadn't said anything about the other girl at the scene.
タク。
Seruko was staring at me, confused. She was probably thinking the same thing. I could understand why there wasn't any information about us. The police had said there wouldn't be, and to be honest, we were just gawkers. There was no real point in telling anyone we were there. But that girl clearly seemed to be involved in the case. If they said he got into a fight with his girlfriend, then it didn't make sense not to report the girl who was there.
未成年による配慮？
I wasn't sure, but she had looked young. She definitely wasn't older than 19. No, even then, they'd say something. Whenever there was a problem with someone dating underage girls, they never reported the girl's name, but they always reported her existence.
どうした？
説明する。
I pinned up the information that Ito had given me.
ラブホの事件の遺体の仮装は
これは？
ラブホの現場で撮った画像だ。
撮ったのか？
Ito almost jumped on me in shock. I nodded.
正確には録画した映像を切り取ってプリントアウトしたやつだ。警察に消される前に尾上が個人のストレージに上げておいてくれた。
マジかよ。やばいだろこれ。どこにも出てねえぞ。
Ito put his face up to the picture in excitement.
なんだ？座ったまま首を。ワイヤーかこれ。
He mumbled to himself as he stared at it, trying to memorize every last detail.
なんだよこれ。おい、一体何があったんだ？
As I listened to Ito speak excitedly, I looked toward Serika. I wasn't sure why I was looking at her, but she nodded as if she understood. I nodded back. The police had told us not to tell anyone, but I didn't care. I slowly started to explain what had happened to Ito. How we'd made it into the hotel undetected. How the room we'd seen from outside was where we'd found the body. How we'd gone inside and found the police officer lying on the floor. How the body in the photo was sitting on a spinning bed and slowly rotating. And how there'd been another girl in there, and how someone had tried to enter the room. But I didn't tell him how the door had unlocked itself. The police had told me I'd imagined it, and they'd made me realize I had no proof. Between my curiosity and my fear, I'd been a mess at the time anyway, and more than anything, without any kind of proof, I wasn't sure it had happened at all. And it's been 40 minutes, and we have a bit more to explain, as I expect a couple connections as well with the previous cases. So why don't we save that for next time, because it's been 40 minutes. So stay tuned for the next one, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye!